Closing arguments. Trump and Clinton getting down to the issues very quickly in their final face-off. And here to grade the candidates, Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha and GOP communications strategist Adam Goodman. Thank you both for joining us again.
Good morning.
All right, so we had, Putin, pivots, puppets, but we also had some policy in there. And, Chuck, I want to start with you in terms of who won the economy.
You know, on the economy, I want to go back to, since I didn't get a Chris Wallace panel, that I think he did an outstanding job of keeping this thing moving. And on the economy, you know, I think that Donald Trump did a good job. I think Donald Trump probably got the best because he talked about jobs leaving our country. And no matter the policy, when you start talking about keeping jobs in America, returning people back to work, it's a good policy to have. And it's one of his strongest points. I don't think that he landed many blows last night, but last night on the economy and on jobs, on factory, and kind of calling her out on trade, I think that he did a good job. Did he move the needle? That's yet to be seen. But on this one, I do give it to the Trumpster.
You know, the Trumpster. Adam, we heard Trump talk a lot about cutting taxes as expected, but something that Chris Wallace, since Chuck mentioned it, he talked about entitlements and how 60% of spending goes towards entitlements. So who do you think won in terms of the economy and answered that question the best?
Well, I think actually it's a split verdict on that for this reason. Last night, Hillary Clinton was talking to her base. Donald Trump was talking to America in a Chris Wallace induced lesson in civics and showing the differences between these candidates. The economy is number one. Jobs in the economy remains the number one issue in America. I think Donald Trump had an opportunity to really score big. I think he scored. He could have scored more with a GDP that's going sideways, jobs that are going overseas, and heaven forbid if interest rates ever go up again, what's going to happen with entitlements, where it's just gobbling up more and more of the national budget. We've got to get control of that. I think Donald Trump really tried to score that last night. But as a businessman, he has the best credentials on jobs in the economy you would think going in. I think he had some opportunities perhaps he could have nailed even more.
You know, I mentioned this in one of our last segments with Pete Hegseth just yesterday. We had a U.S. service member killed in Afghanistan along with a U.S. citizen. Chuck, in terms of foreign policy, who do you think did best on that issue?
You know, I was thinking about that a while ago, and I think they both landed good blows. I'm going to give it a split decision just for the reason of she was Secretary of State. I think she had a good point last night when he was doing The Apprentice. She was trying to solve deals. But I think she does have some Achilles heel. That's why I give Donald Trump some credit, because he called her out on things about Benghazi and the things that are always around the Clintons. And I think that going back to the emails, I think that the American public at the end of the day want to feel safer in their homes. They want to know that there's not going to be any terrorism here on our own shore. That's why I give it a split decision.
Adam, ISIS in 32 countries now. Trump pointed that out. Who do you think won?
This I give to Donald Trump. This should be a natural strength, obviously, of Secretary Clinton, Secretary of State. She has a lot of hands-on experience. But right now we have ISIS that's on the loose. We have Iran we just given billions to try to continue to spread terrorism with. And as Chuck said, the Benghazi narrative still doesn't add up. I think this was an opportunity for Secretary Clinton to really drill that quality of experience she really pushed hard on last night. I think Donald Trump actually had her on the ropes on that. I think he did very well, and that's very important as people start to look at America's next commander-in-chief.
Chuck, off the very top, the very first question on the Supreme Court. From there went into the Second Amendment, Roe versus Wade. Who won on that issue?
Look, I hate giving split decisions, but I really do think both of them were talking to their base last night. I give each one of them credit because each one of them were talking to their base. This election is going to come down to just a few battleground states, and you could hear it in their voices last night. Donald Trump was talking to white men in Iowa and in Wisconsin, and Hillary Clinton was talking to suburban moms in outside of Philadelphia and in Florida with the issues that they were covering. They were going right down the textbooks, and I've done a lot of pre-debate prep, and that's exactly where they wanted to get there in their shots, to get to their people who they need to turn out. There needs to be motivation to turn out in this election, and that's what they were trying to do around the Supreme Court narrative last night.
Adam, did you hear anything from either candidate that would sway not the people that already agree with them, but some of the independents and undecideds?
Oh, absolutely. Now, this is an historic moment where Chuck and I are actually going to agree. Split decision. She appealed to her base. Trump was appealing to his. I think he had a higher bar, actually. He had to declare on that. Remember, the Supreme Court, the next president is going to appoint as many as 4 new justices to a court that right now is evenly divided between conservative and liberal. It will dictate the way the court's going to go, and in a lot of ways, the fortune of this country for the next 20 years.
Yeah,
I agree with
factor.
Chuck. Scores both ways.
For a lot of folks. All right. Well, you can't have a split decision on Election Day, though, so we'll see what happens then. Thank you, Chuck Rocha and Adam Goodman. Appreciate it, as always.
Have a good morning.
Ours too.
You
Take
too.
care.
All right.